Introduction. The teen brain is an interesting organ to study because a teenager's body and mind change so much during adolescence. As kids grow up, their brains play a big role in shaping their thoughts, feelings, and actions. During adolescence, the teen brain is constantly developing, especially the prefrontal cortex, which controls executive processes like decision-making and impulse control. The brain's motivation system also goes through a lot of changes during this time. The neurotransmitter dopamine, which makes people feel pleasure, is released more when we do something new and exciting. Teenagers may try out new things that could be dangerous, like drugs or risky sports, because they are more sensitive to rewards than adults due to this dopamine bath. Teens' relationships with other people are also important for how their brains grow. During adolescence, the social reward circuits in the brain become more active, which makes teens want approval from their friends even more. Because they want to be liked by their friends so much, they may make bad decisions and take risks they don't need to. The teenage brain change a lot, but that doesn't mean it's faulty. At this time, the brain is more open than ever to new events, thoughts, and growth. Teenagers are smart enough to learn new things, make good habits, and build up their mental strength if they have the right kind of guidance and support. The more parents, teachers, and lawmakers know about how complicated the teenage brain is, the more they can help young people grow up in a healthy way. In this book, we will be looking at all you need to know about the teenage brain in order to raise your teens effectively. Chapter 1. Introduction to the teen brain. Adolescence is a period in which a person's brain undergoes substantial change. Teenagers may quickly learn and develop new skills due to the brain's plasticity, which allows it to reorganize its structure and enhance connections between different regions. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles executive functions such as decision-making, impulse control, and reasoning, undergoes considerable changes throughout adolescence. This area of the brain is still growing even into one's early 20s. As a consequence, since their prefrontal cortex lack the maturity to appropriately weigh prospective outcomes, teenagers often participate in impulsive and dangerous actions. The limbic system, which governs emotions, also grows throughout adolescence. Because the limbic system develops before the prefrontal cortex, there is a temporary mismatch between emotional reaction and cognitive control. This might explain why many teenagers fail to regulate their emotions the way adults do. Hormones also have a significant role in shaping the teenage brain. The rise in sex hormones, such as estrogen and testosterone, leads the body to mature. These hormones also regulate mood, social conduct, and the ability to form relationships. Adolescents are particularly prone to engaging in reward and sensation-seeking actions because their brain's reward system becomes more sensitive during this period. A significant trait during the teenage years is the teenage brain's improved capacity to learn and gain new skills. Adolescence is a critical period in the development of synapses and myelin sheaths in the brain. Myelination is the process of insulating neural pathways with a fatty substance called myelin, while synaptic pruning is the removal of unnecessary connections between neurons. These two mechanisms, when combined, allow for faster and more efficient communication among brain regions. The brain's neural network is polished and made more effective during this period of synapse pruning and myelination. It also means that everything teens experience may have an impact on your brain later in life. Learning a new language, taking up an instrument, or joining a sports team are all examples of innovative and demanding activities that have been found to increase cognitive function and promote the development of various sections of the brain. Substance abuse and other negative practices during this period, on the other hand, may have a negative influence on brain development. Because adolescent brains are still growing, they are more susceptible to the harmful effects of drugs and hence more readily disturbed. These substances may have long-term cognitive and behavioral impacts by disturbing the natural balance of neurotransmitters and inhibiting the development of important brain areas. The prefrontal cortex, which handles things like planning ahead and controlling emotions, is another crucial element of the teenage brain. The prefrontal cortex undergoes significant change throughout adolescence and continues to develop and improve into early adulthood. This time of fast growth may be responsible for several of the characteristics often associated with teenagers, such as impulsivity, risk-taking, and a preference for short-term gain over long-term. As teenagers develop, they become more susceptible to being influenced by their peers. This greater sensitivity to the sentiments of others may have both positive and negative consequences. On the one hand, having supportive friends and family may do wonders for their emotional and physical health. Unpleasant social experiences, such as being bullied or feeling like they don't fit in, may, on the other hand, have major effects for their mental health. Neurotransmitters have a significant impact on adolescent brain function. Adolescence is typified by changes in dopamine levels, which play a role in pleasure, reward, and motivation. Dopamine makes the brain more sensitive and receptive to pleasure stimuli. This increased sensitivity may result in increased risk-taking, a desire for new experiences, and a predilection for sensation-seeking. Adolescence is also connected with changes in serotonin, a neurotransmitter associated with emotional stability. Fluctuations in serotonin have been associated to emotional instability, hypersensitivity, and vulnerability to mood disorders such as melancholy and anxiety. Hormones have a significant impact on the teenage brain. As puberty starts, estrogen and testosterone are produced and have far-reaching effects on cognitive and behavioral development. These hormones may alter both sexual characteristics and emotional and even social behavior. For example, testosterone has been connected to aggressiveness and a proclivity for risk, while estrogen has been linked to the capacity to self-regulate and comprehend the social environment. However, hormone levels are not the only element that influences conduct. Hormones, brain development, and environmental influences all have deep and linked interactions. Both genetic and environmental factors influence teenage brain development. Genetic predispositions may impact vulnerability to mental health disorders or the rate and pattern of brain development. However, the environment has a tremendous effect on how the brain develops. Brain growth and resilience may be enhanced by being in a safe, stimulating, and supportive environment. On the other side, stressful or traumatic experiences, as well as chronic stress, may permanently harm the brain of a teen. The more we understand how the teenage brain functions, the better prepared we will be to create loving environments, devise effective therapies, and implement strategies that have been proved to benefit adolescents' emotional and cognitive health. This is why it's important not to neglect teens during this formative period of their life. Chapter 2. How brain chemicals influence mood and behavior. Hormones such as estrogen and testosterone have a substantial impact on adolescent emotions and behavior. Adolescence' enhanced synthesis of these hormones is responsible for the aforementioned physical changes and the formation of secondary sexual characteristics. These hormonal changes also affect brain development and neurotransmitter function, both of which have an impact on a person's emotional experiences. Neurotransmitters that affect mood and motivation include serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. They have a big influence on our emotions, attitudes, and behaviors. Adolescence is marked by significant changes in neurotransmitter systems, which impact both emotional and behavioral development. The hormonal and neurotransmitter changes that occur throughout adolescence may be responsible for adolescents' mood swings. Teens' emotions may shift quickly, from joy to melancholy. The combination of hormones and neurotransmitters affects the brain's reward system. Adolescence is marked by increased amounts of the neurotransmitter dopamine, which is important in motivation and reward processing. This increased dopamine activity, which is driven by the pursuit of reward and sensation seeking, might explain why teenagers are more likely to engage in risky activities and seek out new experiences. The impact of hormones and neurotransmitters on conduct go beyond just altering emotions. These chemical messengers have an influence on decision-making, impulse control, and social connections. The teenage brain, especially the prefrontal cortex, which regulates executive functions such as decision-making and self-regulation, is still growing. As a result of hormonal changes and changed neurotransmitter activity in this part of the brain, imprudent conduct and an inability to comprehend the possible implications of one's actions may arise. Hormones and neurotransmitters have an influence on social behavior in the creation and maintenance of interpersonal relationships. The synthesis of oxytocin, a hormone associated with bonding and attachment, leads to a growing emphasis on peer relationships during adolescence. Oxytocin increases social awareness and empathy, which assists in the formation and maintenance of meaningful relationships with others. A lot of factors determine how these chemical messengers affect teenagers, including the teenager's personality, genetics, environment, and life events. While taking into account individual differences and environmental influences, it is critical to recognize the role of hormones and neurotransmitters in the emotional and behavioral changes that occur throughout adolescence. Teenage hormones and neurotransmitters have a significant impact on moods and behaviors. Hormonal oscillations and fluctuations in neurotransmitter activity all impact mood, reward-seeking behavior, poor decision-making, and the establishment of social relationships. Recognizing these processes as normal parts of growth may help us approach adolescent challenges with greater compassion and understanding. Hormones like estrogen and testosterone affect secondary sexual traits like the growth of breasts in women and hair growth in men. In addition, they help make new bone tissue, build muscle, and change the way the body is made up as a whole. Hormones and chemicals in the brain called neurotransmitters also affect how teens sleep. Due to the rise in sex hormones, teenagers may have trouble going to sleep on time and may stay up later at night. Teenagers are especially prone to the bad effects of not getting enough sleep because of this change. Effects of hormones and neurotransmitters on thinking and learning are another important factor. Changes in hormone levels, especially estrogen, have been shown to have a big effect on memory, attention, and brain function, among other things. Hormone changes can make it hard to concentrate, remember things, and do well in school. Hormones and chemicals also play a role in controlling hunger and fullness. Teenagers need more energy because their bodies are changing so quickly. Hormonal changes that affect hunger and eating habits, especially those that involve leptin and ghrelin, can cause weight gain and lead to eating disorders. Hormones and chemicals have a huge effect on how and what teenagers feel and do, and this has a big effect on their mental health. Depression, anxiety, and mood swings are more likely to start when a person is a teenager. Neurotransmitter and hormone problems may play a role in how and why some illnesses start. How hormones affect the emotional lives of teens. Hormones are very important to how the body's stress reaction system develops as kids grows up. The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal, HPA, axis releases hormones like cortisol, which have been linked to both mental control and how the body reacts to stress. Due to changes in the HPA system, teenagers may be more likely to feel the effects of stress. This could make them more sensitive, likely to get depressed, and less able to control their emotions. Hormones and chemicals also play a role in how people feel about themselves. Hormones have been linked to changes in sexual orientation and gender identity before and after birth and during puberty. A person's sense of self is made up of many different things, such as their genes and the balance of their hormones. Hormones may also affect how likely teens are to take risks and look for new experiences. Because the reward system is more active in adolescence, they may be more likely to seek out new experiences, go out into the world, and take chances. This may help explain why young people are more apt than children to try new drugs or look for wild experiences. Hormones help people make and keep friends. During adolescence, the social cognition network in the brain grows and develops. This network has parts that help you understand what other people are feeling and thinking. Oxytocin and vasopressin are two hormones that help people connect with each other, trust each other, and feel sympathy for others. The prefrontal cortex and self-control. During adolescence, the brain changes a lot, and the prefrontal cortex is one of the areas that change the most. The prefrontal cortex is a part of the brain that plays a big role in executive functions like decision-making and impulse control. Teens' prefrontal cortex grows as they learn to understand their surroundings. This makes it easier for them to weigh risks, make good choices, and control their urges. The prefrontal cortex's synaptic pruning is a physiological process that makes the connections between neurons stronger by clearing out the connections that aren't needed and strengthening the ones that are. This editing process helps teens make better decisions by simplifying the brain's ability to handle information. The development of the prefrontal cortex is also affected by the myelination of nerves. Myelin is a fatty substance that covers nerve cells and acts as a barrier. This makes it easier and faster for signals to travel from one part of the brain to another. Increased myelination in the prefrontal cortex makes it easier for different parts of the brain to connect to each other, which helps people make better decisions. The prefrontal cortex also helps stop teens from acting on impulse and make more thought-out choices. As their prefrontal brain grows, teenagers get better at controlling their urges and putting off short-term pleasures in favor of long-term goals. The development and maturation of the prefrontal cortex is also affected by genes, the environment, and social relationships. The prefrontal cortex may benefit from being exposed to different kinds of inputs, such as good relationships and new learning opportunities. With the growth of their prefrontal brain, teenagers are better able to control their feelings and deal with social relationships. This part of the brain is important for things like being aware of others, feeling kindness, and seeing things from their point of view. The prefrontal cortex is also linked to the emotional system and other parts of the brain that help process rewards. Because of this link, a person's feelings and impulses can be taken into account when they are making logical decisions. The prefrontal cortex grows and helps a person make better choices by controlling the spontaneous responses of the emotional parts of the brain. But keep in mind that the prefrontal cortex grows slowly and continues to do so even after puberty. As a person hits early adulthood and the second decade of life, the prefrontal cortex keeps growing and making new links and getting better at what it can do. This growth shows that people usually get better at making good choices and controlling their emotions as they get older. Chapter 3. Emotions in Adolescence. A teen's emotions may rise due to hormonal changes and the challenges of growing up. They may shift from joy to despair or from joy to pain in the space of a few seconds. Teenagers have to deal with both internal and external difficulties, such as attempting to understand and manage these intense emotions, as well as academic responsibilities and family expectations. The relationships adolescents have with their peers may have a big impact on how they grow emotionally. Teenagers value their friendships as they struggle to define themselves and find their position in the world. They may experience the fulfillment of true friendship and a sense of belonging, but they might also go through the agony of exclusion, betrayal, and rejection. Teenagers' conflicts with adults in positions of authority often result from their quest to establish their identities. Teenagers' need for parental guidance and support at this time might conflict with their desire for independence at times. As teens try to fit in with the limitations of cultural norms and values, they could feel a variety of emotions, from rebellion to reliance. The emergence of romantic and sexual desire adds a new layer to the complicated emotional development that occurs throughout adolescence. Being a teenager includes experiencing the joy of a first crush, the ferocity of an obsession, and the anguish of rejection. They are compelled to face the emotional brittleness that comes with accepting one's desires and the complexity of romantic relationships as they go through this process. The emotional lives of adolescents are intricate webs that entail finding one's identity, going through intense and changing emotions, developing and negotiating relationships with peers and adults, and battling authority. Teenagers go through a stage that can be both exhilarating and challenging as they investigate the always shifting terrain of their own emotions while searching for self-identity and a place in the world. Adolescence is characterized by heightened self-awareness and the pressure of needing to make important decisions. Teens could be concerned about living up to their parents' and society's expectations, being accepted to the proper college, or selecting the correct career path. Teens may feel a variety of emotions as they try to choose their futures in the face of these outside pressures, including fear, uncertainty, and self-doubt. The emotional landscape of adolescence may also be influenced by the individual's cognitive development and aptitude for abstract cognition. Adolescents may reflect deeply on important matters, such as the purpose of life, morality, and their own identities as they develop into adults. One's emotional sensitivity may be improved as a consequence of all this soul-searching. In addition to their own internal processes, adolescents' emotional experiences are influenced by the social and cultural context in which they grow. A person's emotional landscape may be greatly influenced by a variety of factors, including cultural norms, financial status, and access to resources. Teenagers from marginalized groups may experience particular challenges and emotions related to discrimination, inequality, and self-identity development. The emotional landscape of adolescence has also changed in the digital age. Social media usage and online interactions among teenagers may intensify and complicate their emotions. They could experience the highs of acceptance, expression, and belonging, as well as the lows of cyberbullying, comparison, and unreachable social expectations. Tension between teenagers and their parents or other authority individuals may arise as a result of their attempt to establish their place in the world. As teens seek to create identities apart from their families, they may feel feelings of discontent, disobedience, or the need to prove their independence. Adolescence is a time of exploration and novelty, which may elicit a range of emotions. Teenagers may engage in activities including trying out new hobbies, entering new social circles, and even drug testing. They may experience a variety of feelings when they test their physical limits and go beyond their comfort zones, from elation to curiosity to dread to even remorse. The emotional climate of adolescence is marked by a sense of optimism, possibility, and idealism. Teenagers typically believe that they can change the world. They could be inspired to pursue their goals and aspirations because it makes them feel hopeful, exciting, and capable. The development of emotions, awareness, and identity. Empathy, which is the ability to take on and grasp the feelings of another person, develops significantly throughout adolescence. As they learn to navigate a range of social relationships and interactions, teens become more sensitive to the emotions and viewpoints of others. They are more able to connect to and sympathize with those who have had different experiences than themselves as a consequence of their increased knowledge. Teenagers learn how to recognize and respond to emotional cues, a skill that is crucial in their interactions with their classmates, families, and the wider society. Self-awareness develops with empathy as a crucial component of adolescent development. Adolescents often contemplate internally and consider their own beliefs, morals, and sense of identity. Teenagers experiment with their social, cultural, and personal identities to attempt to answer the question, "Who am I?" in order to find their place in the world and a purpose to exist. Teenagers experiment with their identities, communicate, and bargain with the expectations of their families, friends, and broader communities. By pushing the limits of societal norms and adopting other perspectives, teens are able to achieve this while also developing their own values, beliefs, and sense of identity. The growth of empathy, self-awareness, and identity formation in adolescence is influenced by a complex combination of internal and external factors. Among the advantages of the hormonal, neurological, and mental changes associated with puberty are increased emotional sensitivity and empathy for others. Teenagers may gain knowledge about the world and themselves via their interactions with others, as well as the situations and experiences they go through. Throughout this phase of development, challenges will exist. The adolescent's journey may be impacted by internal conflicts caused by conflicting emotions, self-doubt, and external influences. In the face of difficulty, there are opportunities for growth, resilience, and self-discovery. As they go through these formative years, adolescents gain the empathy, self-awareness, and sense of identity that will guide them for the remainder of their lives. The development of empathy, self-awareness, and a sense of self in teenagers is influenced by a variety of factors and experiences. When teens are exposed to a variety of social dynamics and interactions, they learn greater empathy. They become more sensitive to the feelings of others around them as a consequence of their increasing understanding of the individuality of every person's experience and point of view. Through the development of empathy, adolescents have a greater understanding of the subtleties of social interaction and a more nuanced sense of the human experience. Self-awareness simultaneously develops as a key aspect of their developing psyche. Teenagers are more conscious of their own thoughts. They take into account the effects of their actions and change their conduct as necessary. They may recognize their finest traits as well as areas for development by taking a close look at themselves. Knowing and embracing one's own distinct set of values, beliefs, and identity, as well as understanding how they may or may not line up with those of one's personal circle or the greater community, are all part of being self-aware. This process of reflection aids teens in becoming more independent. Identity formation in adolescence is complex and dynamic. People explore their individual, social, and cultural identities while they are young. They may experiment with various appearances and careers as they search for a place in the world and a purpose for being alive. Adolescents usually question societal standards because they want to feel authentic and significant about themselves. Although their friends, families, and the media have a significant impact on adolescents, their actions ultimately reflect their evolving sense of who they are and who they want to be. Managing anxiety and mood swings. Adolescents may find it especially challenging to manage their mood changes and stress. Strong coping mechanisms are essential for adolescents to navigate this period of rapid physical, emotional, and psychological development. Here are some methods for coping with the inevitable emotional ups and downs that come with this period of change. Teenagers should first acknowledge and accept their emotions. It may be a huge comfort to know that mood swings are a normal part of adolescence and will pass. It may be quite beneficial for teens to learn how to notice and label their emotions. Having a support system in place may be quite beneficial when coping with stress and emotional ups and downs. Teenagers that are struggling could turn to adults, their friends, or their loved ones for support. When difficulties are talked with someone who listens without passing judgment, stress is decreased and fresh perspectives are acquired. The frequent practice of exercise is also beneficial. Exercise has been demonstrated to help with emotional stability and stress reduction since it releases endorphins, the body's natural chemicals that boost mood. Participating in a range of physical activities, such as team sports, dancing, or going on walks, may be beneficial for adolescents' mental and physical health. Encouragement of healthy stress reduction techniques, such as deep breathing exercises, mindfulness or meditation practices, or engaging in fun hobbies, may be very beneficial for adolescents. Partaking in artistic endeavors like painting, music, or writing may also serve as a healthy outlet for emotions. By creating a routine and establishing realistic goals, one may acquire structure and a sense of success, both of which support mental wellness. By dividing large tasks into smaller, more manageable steps, adolescents may lessen feelings of overwhelm and boost their resilience. Teenagers should place self-care and relaxation at the top of their priority list. Making good lifestyle decisions, such as getting enough sleep, eating healthily, and exercising often, may substantially help with managing stress and maintaining a stable mood. If teenagers' mood swings and stress become unmanageable or interfere with daily life, it is imperative that they seek treatment from a mental health expert or therapist. Resources and individualized coping techniques offered by therapists may be very beneficial. Chapter 4. Risk-taking during adolescence. Adolescents often have a greater propensity for taking risks. Remember we talked about a surge in dopamine during adolescence? Yes, it's responsible for teens' risk-taking behavior. Adolescents are more likely to intentionally seek out novel experiences. Bad habits like drug or alcohol experimentation, unsafe sexual conduct, or reckless driving may reflect this demand for novelty. The desire of more intense experiences is closely linked to adolescent brain development, especially in reward processing and decision-making regions like the prefrontal cortex. One such factor that encourages juvenile risk-taking is peer pressure. Teenagers are driven to conform to the norms and behaviors of their peer group out of a desire to blend in and create social hierarchies. Adolescents in this situation could feel pressure to engage in risky activities because they think doing so would make them more popular with their friends. Peer influence may be particularly potent at this time, since teens have a strong need to connect with others and may lack the wisdom or discernment to properly assess any risks. The risk-taking of adolescence is also influenced by cognitive factors. Teenagers may feel untouchable and believe that awful things will happen to them less often than they really will. This optimistic bias might lead them to overestimate their own resilience in the face of peril while underestimating risks. Additionally, the brain's cognitive control mechanisms, which are responsible for curbing impulsive behavior and adopting a long-term perspective, continue to develop throughout adolescence. A mismatch between the developing emotional and reward systems and the still developing cognitive control systems may lead to unstable decision-making. Teenagers' perceptions and attitudes towards risk may be impacted by how harmful acts are glamorized in media, including music, movies, and social media. The innate propensity of adolescents to engage in risky conduct may be exacerbated by cultural norms that place a high emphasis on independence, adventure, and taking risks. It's important to keep in mind that different teens accept different amounts of risk. A person's temperament, family dynamics, socioeconomic condition, and access to opportunities are just a few of the variables that may have an impact on their tendency to participate in hazardous activity. Through the supply of correct information, the development of decision-making abilities, the promotion of supportive surroundings, and the encouraging of healthy alternatives for seeking stimulation, some of the negative effects connected to hazardous behaviors in adolescence may be mitigated. Teenage risk-taking behaviors may be influenced by the process of identity development. When adolescents are trying to develop a sense of identity and separate themselves from their parents, they may act in ways that are contrary to social norms and expectations. Trying on several identities may include taking risks as a means of self-expression and self-discovery. The environment they grow up in and the parenting techniques used by their parents have a significant impact on adolescents' inclination to take risks. Parental supervision, affection, communication, and consistency in punishment are protective factors against risky conduct. Teenagers are more likely to make positive decisions and abstain from risky vices when they feel secure and loved at home. Teenagers are more prone to act dangerously. Nevertheless, when parental supervision is lacking or when punishment is inconsistent. Although it may be terrifying, adolescent risk-taking is a normal and crucial part of maturation, and it must be recognized as such. Teenagers should have the flexibility to explore their environment, think back on their experiences, and choose the best course of action. As they transition into maturity, adolescents require guidance, but it's critical to find a balance between promoting healthy risk-taking and shielding them from danger. Teenagers' propensity for taking risks may be influenced by the considerable brain changes that occur throughout puberty. The prefrontal cortex continues to develop throughout adolescence, and this process is essential for decision-making, impulse control, and the capacity for considering consequences. Mental health issues may also affect adolescents' risk-taking conduct. Adolescents who struggle with mental health problems like depression, anxiety, or low self-esteem may engage in risk-taking actions. Maladaptive coping strategies for handling emotional pain might include abusing substances, harming oneself, or participating in risky behaviors. It's vital to keep in mind that taking risks isn't necessarily undesirable. By taking sensible risks, you may develop your character, your expertise, and your resilience. Teenagers should have the flexibility to push themselves, try new things, and make mistakes. By encouraging healthy risk-taking in controlled environments like athletics, adventure programs, or creative endeavors, adolescents may obtain valuable experiences as well as a sense of competence and self-confidence. It is essential to educate teens about the consequences of their risky behavior in the actual world. The impact of peer pressure during adolescence. Adolescents go through significant personal changes and run into new challenges as they figure out how to function in the complex social environment they find themselves in. Peer pressure and social dynamics have a big influence on how people choose at this period. Teenagers are particularly susceptible to peer pressure because they strive for autonomy and independence. Because they value their connections with and approval by their peers, teenagers have increased social awareness. They are desperate to be accepted and included. As a result, they could succumb to peer pressure and make an effort to adopt the views and values of the group. Peers may exert influence by overt coercion, subtle pressure, or even implicit presumptions. In an attempt to be accepted and respected by their peers, adolescents may engage in risky behaviors or make personal judgment they disagree with. They could experiment with drugs or alcohol or engage in other risky activities in an effort to blend in or maintain appearances among their peers. The social dynamics that develop at this age already make adolescent decision-making difficult. There will always be folks at the top and those at the bottom of any group of individuals. Teenagers could feel pressure to adhere to the norms set by these adults out of concern that they will be rejected or excluded if they don't. Teens may sacrifice their principles and good judgments in an effort to fit in. Social comparison has a significant impact on adolescents' decision-making as well. Teenagers often compare their status, beauty, and achievements to those of their peers. Constantly comparing themselves to others may lead to anxiety and a desire to fit in. Peer influence does have some advantageous aspects. Peers may positively inspire adolescents to engage in positive activities like sports, volunteering, and education. Positive social dynamics within motivating peer groups all help to nurture development, confidence, and the maturity of pro-social qualities. In order to lessen the negative effects of peer pressure and social dynamics, teens must have strong social support networks. To encourage independence, self-esteem, and the capacity for critical thought in teenagers, having open lines of contact with parents, teachers, and mentors may be beneficial. Teenagers who grow up in environments that value individuality, diversity, and inclusiveness are more likely to make decisions that are consistent with their values and resist peer pressure. Education-related decisions are especially vulnerable to social dynamics and peer pressure. Teenagers may be affected by the opinions and academic interests of their peers, making decisions about their courses of study or career paths based on their perceived social status or what is most popular among their peers. A young person could succumb to social pressure and study or engage in an activity that has nothing to do with their interests or objectives in life. Adolescents are susceptible to peer pressure and social dynamics, both of which may influence how they decide to present themselves. Teenagers may engage in unhealthy behaviors like crash dieting, excessive exercise, or risky cosmetic surgery in an attempt to live up to the ideals of beauty established by their peers. Teenagers who desire to blend in with their classmates may adopt the most recent haircuts or fashion trends. Dating habits and love relationships are significantly shaped by social dynamics and peer pressure. Due to peer or societal pressure, some teenagers may feel compelled to start dating. People could hurry into a relationship before they're ready or before they want to because of the pressure to have a boyfriend or girlfriend. It is crucial to know that peer pressure and social dynamics have a variety of consequences. Despite the influence of their classmates, teenagers are still capable of speaking up for themselves. Adolescents who have high self-esteem, critical thinking skills, and a strong sense of personal identity may be better able to navigate the challenging social terrain and make decisions that represent their true selves. Techniques for guiding teenagers on risk-taking. Encourage teens to participate in extracurricular activities like sports, clubs, hobbies, or volunteer work to help them grow in their feeling of purpose and self-confidence. Tell them about the risks and consequences of doing dangerous things like using drugs, participating in dangerous sexual practices, and driving without paying attention. By giving true information and talking about real-world problems, you can help teens learn to think critically and make good decisions. Having clear and reasonable limits is also very important. Putting limits on things like how much time kids can spend in front of the TV or on social media could help them learn the value of being responsible. It is important, though, to include them in the process of making rules and give them a chance to say what they feel. Helping teens figure out what they believe and what they want to achieve can help them take safe risks. Tell them to really think about what drives them and how their actions can help or hurt their long-term goals. By showing teens the results of their choices, you may be able to get them to make decisions that are in line with their views. Teenagers need a safe and caring place to grow and learn. Give teens good role models, like family members, teachers, or helpful friends, who can show them how to be responsible people and help them along the way. Teenagers are at an age when they want to figure out who they are, so it's important to help them do that. Encourage teens to do things on their own and take charge of their lives. Help them learn how to solve problems and deal with stress so they can face and get through hard times. Get them to carefully think about the problem, weigh their choices, and come up with answers that will help. Teach teens how to deal with problems by showing them how to meditate, talk to friends, among other things. Encourage teens to take healthy risks. Trying new things in a safe way is good for their growth. Encourage them to try new sports, compete in public speaking contests, and do creative things that will help them grow in a healthy way. Be there to support and encourage them as they go. If a teen is showing signs of engaging in dangerous habits or taking needless risks, it is important to deal with any worries they may have. Mental health problems, family problems, stress at school, and drug use are all things that might benefit from this kind of care. Get them to a professional when they need it, and give them a safe place to work through their problems. Keep in mind that every teen is different, and that what works for one might not work for another. So it's important to treat them with care and kindness, and give them advice that fits their own situation. Teenagers need to be shown care, support, and understanding all the time so that they can make good decisions as they face the challenges of becoming an adult. Chapter 5. Memory, Focus, and Learning Skills. To improve memory and learning, it's important to start good study habits young. Teenagers who study in a regular, orderly way often say they are better at managing their time and staying focused. Active recall, timed repeat, and breaking up big amounts of information into smaller pieces can all help improve memory. Keeping a healthy lifestyle is another important thing to do to improve learning and memory. Getting enough sleep helps you remember things and keeps your brain healthy. Teenagers need to go to bed at the same time every night and sleep the whole night through. Regular exercise also helps your mind in other ways, like making it easier to remember things and concentrate. What we eat may also have an effect on how our minds develop. Brain health can be kept up if you eat nutrient-rich foods like fruits, veggies, whole grains, and lean meats on a daily basis. Omega-3 fatty acids can be found in fish, nuts, and seeds. They may help you remember things and pay attention. When teenagers' anxiety levels go down, they are much better able to learn and remember. Stress that lasts for a long time could make it harder for them to think clearly and remember things. Teenagers may be able to deal with anxiety better and think more clearly if they use stress management techniques like mindfulness meditation and deep breathing exercises. Teenagers might be able to focus better and remember things better if they cut down on outside distractions like noise and electronic devices. A good learning setting at home and at school can help kids have a good attitude towards learning. That IT has been shown that doing things that challenge your mind helps you remember, focus, and learn more. The mind grows through things like reading, fixing problems, and getting new skills or tools. Participating in mentally challenging activities like these makes neurons more flexible, which in turn makes it easier to store and retrieve memories. Teenagers can set themselves up for academic and personal success in the future by using these strategies and tips to make the most of their memory, attention, and learning skills while their brains are still developing. Having other people around is very important. Friends can be helpful in discussions, group projects, and other ways of working together to learn. Critical thought and depth of understanding can both be better by interacting with peers. This is because sharing information, exchanging ideas, and hearing about new points of view are all part of these interactions. Emotional and worry levels have been shown to make it hard to focus and remember things. Training and tools that help teens deal with their emotions may help them pay attention and think more clearly. Working on your emotional intelligence through things like keeping a journal, talking to a therapist, or practicing mindfulness may also help. Making connections between new information and what you already know is a great way to improve your memory and learning. If you want to learn something new, it might help to relate it to something you already know. Teenagers need a way to learn that pushes them to connect with the material, ask questions, and try to understand it better in order to learn more and think critically. Learning that is both new and different may help teens remember and pay attention. Engaging teens and getting them to use different parts of their brains can be done in a number of ways, such as by using digital tools and giving them hands-on tasks. Having a lot of educational choices may help keep people from getting bored and also make them more curious. Teaching teens how to set goals, track their progress, and reflect on their learning can help them become more self-aware and in control of themselves. Teenagers can improve over time by thinking about how they learn and figuring out what they do well and where they could improve. How technology and multitasking affects brain growth. In recent years, there has been more and more concern about how technology and multitasking affects the brain of teenagers. Teenagers today can have a lot of activities going on at once, like using apps, the internet, and social media. This is all because technology is changing so quickly. A big problem is that technology might make it harder to pay attention. Teenagers today find it hard to focus on one thing because they are constantly getting alerts, calls, and updates. This short-term memory loss could make it harder for them to solve problems and focus in the long run. This could make it hard for them to think in a creative way and come up with new ways to solve problems. Young people often think they can do several things at once, like talk on the phone while doing chores or watch a movie while learning. But it's possible that the brain wasn't made to do more than one thing at a time. Studies show that trying to do more than one thing at a time can lead to mistakes. Teens may have trouble with having too much on their minds, which can make it hard for them to concentrate and learn. The effect of technology on brain growth is amplified by the fact that social media sites are used by so many people. When kids spend a lot of time online, they might compare themselves negatively to their peers. This is called social comparison. Being constantly flooded with the limited highlights of other people's lives could hurt one's self-esteem and mental health, which in turn could make it harder to think clearly. Teens might not be able to think clearly and learn on their own as well if they use technology too much to find knowledge and solve problems. Because we have so much information in our hands, we might just take it in instead of actively looking, analyzing, and putting it together. Critical thinking skills, like being able to analyze knowledge, use good judgment, and make points that make sense, might not grow as well. Teen sleep habits is very important for their brain development and learning, but they can be messed up by too much technology use and doing too many things at once. The blue light from screens may stop your body from making melatonin, which is a hormone that helps you relax and fall asleep. Teens who don't get enough sleep have a shorter attention span, have trouble remembering things, and do worse in school. Teenagers are especially susceptible to the bad effects of long-term use of digital media and multitasking, which have both been linked to more worry and anxiety. Being always online can be a lot of work and cause a lot of stress. Stress levels could go up because of all the excitement and the fear of missing out, FOMO, that comes with it. Long-term worry and anxiety have been linked to problems with attention, memory, and thinking, among other things. Teenagers need to be taught how to use technology responsibly, and digital literacy needs to be stressed to reduce any negative effects. Encourage self-awareness, limit time spent in front of a screen, and encourage a balanced lifestyle that includes exercise, social interaction, and enough rest. Teenagers can improve their brain skills and become better students in the digital age by getting into the habit of focusing on one thing at a time and thinking critically. Disinformation and fake news that can be found online are especially dangerous for teenagers. This could affect their thinking and their ability to find reliable sources of information and figure out how true things shared online are. Teens' mental and emotional growth and overall growth can be helped by pushing them to use technology in a smart and responsible way. Chapter 6. Friendships during adolescence. The social relationships that adolescents make have a significant impact on their personal development and well-being. The relationships one develops are beneficial to emotional, cognitive, and social growth. The interactions adolescents have with other people profoundly contribute to their sense of self. Through interaction with their peers, who provide them a diverse variety of experiences, teens build their own beliefs and a sense of self. Teenagers face a variety of challenges, including peer pressure, family issues, and low self-esteem. It is priceless to be able to confide in and get support from a network of friends. Because of these relationships, teenagers may feel at ease opening up to their classmates and getting assistance during difficult times. Making friends might aid in developing interpersonal skills. Teenagers learn how to resolve conflicts, communicate effectively, and navigate social situations via interactions with their peers. These experiences help teens develop empathy and emotional intelligence. Social ties are equally important for the psychological and emotional well-being of teenagers. Throughout adolescence, increased sensitivity, tension, and emotional instability are typical. By fostering stronger social ties and receiving emotional support from like-minded individuals, loneliness, anxiety, and depression may all be reduced. According to research, adolescents who are socially linked are less likely to have mental health issues and are better equipped to recover from setbacks. Adolescent social relationships also improve learning and growth. Teenagers who participate in a range of extracurricular activities learn more and develop better as individuals. Throughout adolescence, physical and mental development happens quickly. Teenagers strive to make their own way in the world during this time, which may make them feel alone and bewildered. To navigate the complexities of this developmental stage, teenagers need the assistance of their friends. Through their friendships, teenagers may increase trust, their feeling of belonging, and their connections to one another. These connections provide solace during difficult times, companionship during lonely times, and acceptance during awkward situations. Friendships bring the fun, laughter, and enjoyment that are necessary for one's health and well-being. Teenagers invest a lot of time in a variety of social organizations, from school clubs and sports teams to neighborhood associations and online discussion boards. These interactions expose them to a broad range of individuals, each with their own experiences, perspectives, and attitudes. Teenagers who connect with others from various backgrounds and experiences develop more tolerance, compassion, and appreciation for diversity. Adolescents may face a variety of hardships, including academic obligations, family issues, and personal conflicts. It is priceless to have friends, mentors, or trustworthy individuals they can lean on for support and guidance. Strong social networks help adolescents deal with hardship, learn from their mistakes, and develop as individuals. The friendships one develops throughout youth are essential to their future social success. Through their interactions with their classmates, adolescents learn about social cues, expectations, and etiquette. They develop the ability to identify social signs, place themselves correctly in social situations, and modify their actions accordingly. Along with other mental health issues, anxiety and depression are rather frequent throughout adolescence. Teens may feel less lonely and isolated if they have friends and family that love and accept them for who they are, which reduces their risk of depression and other mental health problems. When a person has trustworthy individuals they can confide in, seek advice from, and share their accomplishments and disappointments with, their mental health and resilience is usually improved. Social interactions have a big impact on how adolescents see empathy, compassion, and altruism. Through observation and social contact, teenagers can learn to comprehend and respond to the needs and emotions of others. Through their own deeds of generosity, understanding, and support, they come to comprehend empathy and the importance of compassion. These characteristics support individuals in forging enduring relationships with one another. Conflict resolution during adolescence. The capacity to listen actively and the maturity to express one's own opinions and thoughts in a courteous and clear manner are the two foundations on which successful adolescent communication is built. Teenagers should rehearse communicating their ideas, emotions, and desires in a positive manner. They must achieve this by effectively conveying their message via language, tone, and nonverbal cues. Every good discussion requires the capacity to listen actively. Teenagers must learn how to listen to others with empathy and curiosity. To achieve this, one needs to pay close attention while listening, maintain eye contact with the other person, and make both spoken and nonverbal remarks. By taking part in these activities, adolescents may increase their ability for empathy, understanding, and trust. Teenagers also need to learn how to deal with conflicts so they can handle the stresses of life. When people with strong personalities meet, simple mistakes can lead to fights that can turn into all-out wars. When trying to work out an argument, it's important to keep an open mind and a cheerful mood. Learning to control your feelings is an important part of being able to solve disagreements. Teenagers should be able to notice and deal with their feelings without resorting to harmful actions like fighting or being alone. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and control one's own feelings and to care about the feelings of others. In order to settle a disagreement, you need to be able to talk properly and successfully. Teens should practice talking about things that matter to them in a way that is strong but not offensive. They should also be willing to listen to the other side and find areas where they agree. Body language and other nonverbal cues are just as important as words when it comes to getting your point across. Teenagers should learn reading and understanding people's body language. They should also watch what they do with their bodies to make sure what they say matches what they do. Learning to listen carefully and with understanding is another important skill for good conversation. Teens should be taught to listen carefully and understand other people's points of view. Teens need to be able to relate, think creatively, and keep their feelings in check in order to solve conflicts. Teenagers need to learn that arguments are normal in close relationships and may even be good for both sides. Also, it's very important to get teens to think critically and take stock of themselves. If they are asked to think about their conversation and conflict styles and what makes them feel angry or sad, they may learn more about themselves and how their actions affect other people. When a teen reaches this level of self-awareness, they may be able to make smart choices about how to handle disagreements. Chapter 7. Sleep during adolescence. Teenagers' brains undergo important consolidation and repair activities when they sleep. The brain analyzes and retains the information it has gathered during the day during sleep. Sleep is also essential for maintaining a stable emotional state. Teenagers' emotional life are especially challenging due to hormonal changes, social pressure, and other factors. The brain can manage these emotions and maintain mental health with the aid of good sleep. A lack of sleep may increase teens' susceptibility to stress, anxiety, and depression. During the REM stage of sleep, the growth hormone that initiates the body's development and maturation is predominantly produced. Chronic sleep deprivation may harm a teen's physical growth because it interferes with the production of this growth hormone. Sleep also has a significant impact on one's immune system and overall wellness. Teenagers with little sleep have compromised immune systems and are more susceptible to illness. Regular sleeplessness in teens increases their risk of developing health problems including obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and mood disorders like depression and anxiety. Given the significance of sleep for the growing brain, parents and schools must prioritize and encourage teenagers to adopt healthy sleeping habits. By creating a sleep-friendly environment, implementing regular sleep schedules, and disseminating knowledge about the importance of sleep, teen sleep quality may be improved. Sleep's impact on metabolism and appetite regulation is just as significant as its positive effects on cognition, emotion, and physical health. Teenagers who lack sleep are more likely to engage in unhealthy eating habits, put on weight, and become obese because sleep deprivation alters the hormones that control hunger and fullness. Teenagers who lack sleep are more inclined to behave irresponsibly and take excessive risks. Prefrontal cortex, the region of the brain that controls judgments and impulses, continues to grow throughout adolescence. Lack of sleep makes teenagers more inclined to participate in potentially dangerous behaviors like drug abuse and reckless driving. The mental abilities of concentration and attention, which are essential for academic performance, are also negatively impacted by sleep deprivation. Teenagers who often receive little sleep may have trouble concentrating in class, remembering what they've learned, and doing well on examinations. The already high risk of mental health issues in teens is increased by lack of sleep. Lack of sleep has been associated with higher levels of anxiety and depression, weakened coping mechanisms, and decreased resilience. Poor sleep quality, which is typified by frequent awakenings, restless sleep, or difficulty falling asleep, may also have a harmful effect on a teen's brain. Healthy sleep patterns and, by extension, a healthy brain and body depend on the treatment of sleep disorders, including insomnia and sleep apnea. Teenagers need to be made aware of the importance of sleep, given the tools to prioritize it in their life, and encouraged to establish better sleep habits. Limiting screen use in the hours before bed and creating regular nightly routines may be helpful. Recognizing and addressing the impacts of sleep deprivation on teenagers' cognitive function and mental health is essential for their well-being and future success. By encouraging healthy sleep habits, fostering a supportive and understanding environment, and seeking professional help when necessary, we can empower teenagers to prioritize sleep and make significant progress toward improving their cognitive capacity, mental health, and overall quality of life. Chapter 8. Mental health during adolescence. Depression is a major mental health issue that many teens have to deal with. They might feel sad, useless, and lose interest in things that used to make them happy. Changes in hormones, stresses from society, and personal problems can all make it easier for teenagers to feel depressed. Teens often have problems with how they feel about themselves and how they look. Teenagers are especially at risk because social media is so popular and because they are constantly bombarded with photos of unrealistic beauty standards and perfectly planned lives that can make them feel bad about themselves and useless. Bullying and group pressure are two stressors that can be very bad for a teen's mental health. Bullying, whether it happens in person or online, can make a person feel lonely and anxious. Peer pressure, on the other hand, can make kids' mental health even worse and lead them to do things that are bad for them, like using drugs. Developing a sense of self is important for teens, but the process can be hard. Teens may feel confused and alone when they have questions about their sexual preference, gender identity, or cultural background. The attitudes and ideals of society may make it harder for them to accept who they are. The stresses of family life can hurt a teen's mental health. Disruptions in the family, like split or divorce, or problems between parents or between family members, can be bad for everyone's mental health. When a teen doesn't get help with these problems, it makes it harder for them to deal with them. Teenagers with mental health problems are more likely to abuse and become addicted to drugs than other teens. Teens who are in mental pain may use drugs as a way to deal with their feelings or to calm themselves down. Using drugs can make mental health problems worse, which can lead to a downward cycle of abuse and worsening health. Teenagers often feel lonely and alone on top of the other problems we've already talked about. Even if they have a lot of friends, they may still feel alone and confused, which can cause mental discomfort. Even though the goal of digital communication, social media, is to bring people together, they can often make people feel even more alone and make it harder for them to meet in person. Teenagers often have trouble sleeping well, which can have major effects on their mental health. Hormonal changes, worry from school, and more use of technology may make it hard for them to sleep. If they don't get enough sleep, it could hurt their mental and physical health. Anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating disorder are all diseases that often show up in young people. Disordered eating can be caused by anxiety, stress, and feeling like you have to meet beauty standards that aren't real. The effects on mental health are just as bad as the effects on physical health. Some teens have scary mental health problems, like wanting to hurt themselves or kill themselves. People who are mentally overwhelmed and unable to cope may hurt themselves as a way to get rid of their feelings or feel like they are in control again. Suicidal thoughts are a serious sign that someone needs help right away. Adolescents' mental health may be affected for a long time by bad childhood situations and stressful events. People who have been abused or neglected or who have seen someone else be abused or neglected often have mental health problems like PTSD, anxiety, and depression. Because of the pain they went through, they may have trouble getting through the day or building important relationships with other people. Society and cultural norms make it harder for teens with mental health problems to get help. Teenagers' personalities are shaped by national norms, gender roles, and other social factors, all of which can be hard to deal with. Expectations that don't match up and the fear of being judged can make it harder to get along with other people and make mental health problems worse. How to recognize the first signs of mental illness. Mood changes that last for a long time are often a sign of depression in teens. They may be sad, angry, may not be as enthusiastic or energetic as they used to be, and lose interest in things they used to like. Changes in sleeping habits, like having trouble falling asleep or sleeping too much, may also be a sign. Teens who have anxiety disorders may worry or be scared about things that aren't real. Stress that lasts for a long time can cause physical signs like a racing heart, sweating, and shakiness. Another sign is avoiding social situations, places with a lot of people, or daily jobs because they make you feel too anxious. Another thing to think about is how well the teen can function socially and in school. Teenagers with mental health problems may find it hard to make and keep friends and have good family relationships. They might pull away from friends and family, and it might be hard for them to pay attention in school. Emotional stress can make it hard to fall asleep or stay asleep, or it can cause your sleep routine to be all over the place. It's important to understand the link between sleep and mental health, and keep an eye out for changes in sleep habits. The use of drugs or alcohol by teens may be a sign or a way to deal with mental health problems. Even though these signs might not be signs of a specific illness, they could be signs that a teen's mental health is in trouble. If you see any of these signs, it is important to talk to the person about the problem with care and understanding. Encourage honest and open conversations. Give the kid lots of love and care, and talk to mental health professionals who know how to help. Ways to promote adolescent well-being and resiliency. For teens to become resilient, meaningful relationships must be built. Fostering positive relationships with friends, family, and role models may help create a sense of belonging and safety. Teenagers must feel free to express their thoughts and concerns without fear of being judged or mocked. Listening intently to and supporting teens' experiences is the first step in assisting them in developing healthy coping mechanisms and problem-solving skills. Helping teens develop a positive self-image and a solid sense of self-worth is another important aspect of promoting their well-being. The time of identity formation during adolescence is accompanied by the typical human feelings of self-doubt and uncertainty. If teens are inspired to have a positive body image, accept themselves, and be nice to themselves, they may improve their mental health. Encouraging teens to identify and pursue their particular set of talents, interests, and skills is also another method to assist them in finding purpose and fulfillment in life. Teaching teens fundamental life skills may also support the development of adolescent resilience and happiness. If teens have the abilities to effectively communicate, regulate their emotions, make wise choices, and strive towards their objectives, they may be more resilient and successful in the face of hardship. A key component of developing resilience is improving one's physical health and well-being. Regular exercise, a nutritious diet, and enough sleep may be good for both your physical and mental health. If teens are taught the importance of self-care, stress management techniques, and the benefits of a balanced lifestyle, they may be better equipped to handle stress and maintain optimal well-being. Building a supportive group is just as crucial as doing these specific actions. Together, the family, the classroom, and the neighborhood can create a climate that is tolerant, kind, and compassionate. Through anti-bullying initiatives, counseling services, and a broad choice of extracurricular activities, a sense of community and belonging may be fostered. Adult role models that are resilient and happy are crucial. Teens may gain a lot from adults who serve as excellent role models for self-care, healthy, and honest communication. Teenagers pick up valuable life lessons from seeing their older role models take care of themselves and overcome hardship. Using these techniques and creating a happy atmosphere may help nurture adolescents' resilience and happiness. Giving teens the abilities to overcome obstacles, build healthy relationships, and learn crucial life skills will not only enhance their overall well-being, but also position them for a seamless transition into adulthood. Chapter 9. Technology and the Teenage Brain. Technology is changing how teens think, learn, and connect with the world. This is something that can't be denied. In the modern age, technology has become an important part of their daily lives, which has had a big impact on their mental growth. Researchers have found that technology has a big effect on how teenagers' brains work. Because of the internet, today's teens are good at doing more than one thing at once and can get to a lot of information quickly and easily. Constant exposure to digital stimulation, on the other hand, has been linked to a shorter attention span and less ability to focus on a single task for long amounts of time. Instant gratification from technology might make people less patient and less likely to learn how to be persistent and patient. Also, technology advances have completely changed the way young people learn. Digital platforms, online classes, and digital tools have become more common, giving students more ways to learn at their own pace and dig deeper than ever before. But relying too much on technology for schooling could make it harder to think on your own and remember things. The development of technology has given us both opportunities and problems. Teenagers might feel like they belong and are accepted in the online spaces on social media. On the other hand, if you spend too much time in front of a computer and have too many imaginary relationships, you may feel lonely, anxious, and lose confidence in yourself. Constantly comparing yourself to idealized pictures on the internet can make you have unrealistic standards and a bad opinion of your body. Technology also has an effect on the physical health of teens. The idle habits that come with too much computer time raise the chance of obesity and other health problems. Screens give off blue light, which has been linked to trouble sleeping, bad sleep quality, feeling tired, and having trouble thinking. The effects of technology on the growing brain of a teenager are big. Even though it can help people learn, communicate, and express themselves, it can also hurt their mental performance, social interactions, emotional stability, and physical health. In the digital age, it's important to find a balance between time spent on technology and time spent doing other things. The way teenagers see the world and themselves has changed because of how much technology is a part of their daily lives. Screen time has made it normal to want things to happen quickly in many parts of life, like work, play, and interacting. Their mental growth is being affected in many ways by how quickly they are adopting new technologies. Teens' use of technology could change the way their brains grow and develop in many ways. Teenagers' brains are especially flexible, and using technology a lot can change how they grow and work. Because the brain can change and react based on experiences, using digital devices over and over again may make some nerve links stronger while weakening others. There are good things and bad things about the use of technology. Problem solving, being able to see how things fit together, and knowing how to use technology are just a few of the brain skills that could be helped by technological advances. But this reliance on external gadgets can make it harder to pay attention and remember things. The internet has changed the way knowledge is shared and how easy it is to get. Teens now have access to a lot of things online that they didn't have before, such as virtual groups and different ways to learn. But it may be hard to sort through all the information and figure out which sites are reliable and which ones spread lies. So, it's important for teens to learn how to think critically and use computers so they can navigate the complicated digital world. Technology has an effect on teens' social lives, just as it does on their growing brains. They now use these sites a lot to communicate, express their creativity, and get a sense of who they are as a whole. Teenagers' constant need for acceptance through likes, comments, and follows is a problem. Because social media is selective, people who use it may feel bad about themselves, anxious, or sad. In today's digital world, teens need to know how to balance online and real connections, and how to make online relationships work well. Technology could have an effect on the mental health of teenagers. Long-term computer time can overstimulate the brain and make it hard to control your feelings. Technology's ability to satisfy wants right away has been linked to a loss of self-control and impulsiveness. This could hurt skills like mental resilience and self-control, which are important for dealing with the ups and downs of life. People can't just ignore what technology does to their bodies. The idle lifestyle that is encouraged by too much screen time is linked to a higher chance of obesity, heart disease, and problems with the muscles and bones. People who spend too much time in front of screens don't get enough exercise or sleep, which is bad for their health and well-being. There is no question that technological progress can have many good effects, but it is important to be aware of the risks. Teenagers need to learn how to use technology to its full potential while still taking care of their health and well-being. They can do this by finding a balance, setting suitable boundaries, and learning to think critically. How teens should use social media. Teenagers need to first understand that what they see on social media is controlled and filtered. They should know that seeing other people's highlight reels can make them feel like they're not good enough. Encourage them to see and value their own skills and successes. This will help them feel good about themselves. Internet protection is very important in the digital world of today. Teenagers should be told how dangerous it is to talk to strangers and share personal information. Remind them how important it is to only accept friend requests from people they already know and trust. Remind them that not everyone they meet online will be good, and that they should be careful. Teens should be encouraged to set boundaries and plan time away from screens so they can live a healthy, well-rounded life. Have honest conversations about the risks of too much screen time, including how it might affect sleep, physical activity, and social skills. Get them to stop using the internet and spend time with family, friends, and on their hobbies. It is also important to teach young people how the things they do online can affect them. Tell kids to think about how their online actions and comments might affect them emotionally and professionally in the future. Teens should also know how important it is to check facts twice before telling other people about them. Teach teens to think carefully about what they see online and to question the truth of anything they read. Make it clear that people shouldn't believe everything they read or hear without first figuring out if it's true. Teens should be taught to talk to each other in a kind and understanding way. Talk about how online bullying can hurt people and why it's important to speak out against it. Teach them how to recognize the signs of bad behavior online and where to get help if they are victims of or witnesses to digital abuse. Young people today are put under a lot of pressure to meet false standards of beauty, wealth, and social standing. Remind them that the best way to feel good about themselves is to work to better themselves, not to look for praise from others. Get teens to follow social media accounts that are positive, uplifting, and good for their minds. Teach teens that nothing they put online is really gone forever, even if they delete it. Tell them to be careful about sharing anything that could hurt their reputation or make it hard for them to find work in the future.